So let me give you some examples of good and bad strategy maps. Here's an example of one that one of our clients had produced for them by an external consultant. And this is what it looked like by the time we had finished reworking that. Let's talk about the comparison between these two. So the one on the left, it's hard to understand the cause and effect explanation between these objectives. Each of these objectives appears to be an island to itself, and although we've tried to classify the themes, it's unclear as to how the objectives work together to create overall success. This is a problem because many times with an objective, we need to understand what the outcome is from it in order to achieve the right behaviors and performances. Secondly, the strategy map on the left doesn't tell us what the priorities are. Now, this is a big problem because if you don't know what the priorities are inside the organization, it's incredibly hard to make sure that you and your team are working on the right things. In fact, it's even hard to know as a leader what people are or should be working on, and therefore it's hard to provide coaching throughout the year. I feel many organizations create strategy maps like the one on the left because it's easier. I'm not committing to the cause and effect relationship. And most importantly, I'm not committing to how important the different strategic objectives are. And therefore, as a leader, I can wait till the end of the year and then with the benefit of hindsight, describe what could have or should have happened. Finally, we understand that there's no communication of themes all the way from the bottom of the map to the top on the one on the left compared to the one on the right. This becomes important because those themes are what aligns us across the organization to make sure that we're working consistently towards the same shared value and objective. So let's take a look at a few others I downloaded from the web. This is an example from the Army Medical Command strategy. Again, completely impossible to figure out what our priorities are and how things link to overall success. Similarly, for this particular PUD, this is more just eye candy with a collection of interesting metrics on it, but it doesn't give us any guidelines in terms of relationship and priorities. Here's another example of a great communication tool, potentially, but again, everything seems to connect with everything, and everything has the same weighting. So this actually becomes more confusing than anything. So the characteristics that we've seen in these weaker strategy maps are things like the lack of arrows. I'm not clear about the cause and effect logic. There's no weightings on it, so I don't know what the priorities are I should be focusing in on. There are obviously way too many objectives. This cannot be top of mind with so many objectives that people can't easily rattle them off to you. And therefore, they end up being far too tactical. Now, the impact of this is that it doesn't create that clear direction and alignment for the organization. It's not a very good communications tool because everyone who's going to tell the story will tell it differently based on their interpretation of those strategic objectives. It doesn't allow us to hold leadership or, frankly, the organization accountable for any specific performance or focus. There's no alignment, therefore, across the organization, and perhaps most importantly, there's no way to analyze our processes and projects for their strategic capabilities.